Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey everybody, Alex Stevenson, Jake Face here. Welcome to this week's Mortarpod.
Hola.
Alright, well we're going to go through our F&M decks for you and then our matches from Friday. So let's run through it. Jake, you want to start it off?
Sure. I was playing my Esper Control, slightly modified, less Planeswalker intensive or whatever. So let's go through it. 1 Aetherling, 2 Obsidat, 1 Elspeth, 4 Jace Architect of Thought, 4 Island, 3 Plains, 4 Godless Shrine, 4 Hallowed Fountain, 4 Temple of Deceit, 4 Temple of Silence, 4 Watery Grave, 4 Detention Sphere, 3 Azorius Charm, 1 Devour Flesh, 3 Dissolve, 2 Doomblade, 2 Heroes Downfall, 4 Sphinx's Revelation, 4 Supreme Verdict, 1 Render Silent, and 1 Far and Away. And then my sideboard was 2 Dispel, 1 Last Breath, 1 Dark Betrayal, 1 Glare of Heresy, 2 Notion Thief, 1 Jace Memory Adept, 2 Yoked Ox, 2 Negate, and 3 Thoughtseize. And my matches. First round, I played against a blue-black mill deck, and I beat him 2-0. Excuse me. Have a little burp. It was actually a tougher match than you would think, mostly because he gets to play counter spells and draw, and he's also playing mill, which is, you know, I'm trying to draw a lot of cards off of my Sphinx's Revelations, obviously. So, or like my Jace, I'm trying to get value off of digging deep with that too. So it's actually a kind of a more difficult strategy when late game he can just play a mind grind for a lot, and if I don't have the counter spell, it actually can kill me. So I found myself trying to drop lands on the bottom as often as possible off Jace, do stuff like that, so that those things, you know, that get rid of your lands or that mill until they hit lands wouldn't be as devastating later on.
Yeah.
But I did manage to beat him. I am playing 4 counter spells main deck, and I don't think that a lot of, or like many of the Esper Control decks are now. I think they're only playing 3. Not that 4 is like a huge difference. I just added Render Silent because I wanted a different one. I wanted to try something else out. I figured that one would be available or maybe would have a special effect at some time. If you're playing against, like, I don't know, anyone who might have 2 plays in 1 turn, I guess, it could be good. Never really paid off, but whatever. I'm trying to think if there were any real key players in this. Obsidat was really helpful. I know that most decks are actually doing Blood Baron. I don't own any Blood Baron, unfortunately. And Obsidat is just, it's something that can gain me some life.
No, I think Obsidat's probably a better option anyway.
Yeah, it's a flip, I think. Because the Blood Baron is really good. It's always out there, though, so it's susceptible to sorcery speed, mass removal, or sacrifice effects. Obsidat is a lot trickier to deal with because it's instant speed removal only that hits it, and it has 5 toughness. So Mizium Mortars doesn't even answer Obsidat all by itself.
I guess having said that, Dark Betrayal is in a lot of sideboards, and the fact that that can hit Obsidat and not Blood Baron is a big deal. And Detention Sphere, I guess, doesn't hit either, so that one's negligible.
Yeah,
Doomblade doesn't hit either of them. Ultimate Price doesn't hit either of them.
It really comes down to Heroes Downfall, honestly.
Heroes Downfall and Dark Betrayal on a sideboard, that's about it.
Yeah, and making them sacrifice it. I also have Far Away and Devour Flesh both in my deck, so I can time it right to get them to sacrifice it to There were a few plays where I really just had to do that, just make him sacrifice it immediately, basically. And that's fine too. I'll definitely make you sack it, and I don't care if you gain 5 life or 4 life. If it's the Blood Baron in particular, that one is... I mean, I guess Aetherling gives me a little more leeway with the Blood Baron. I can play against it a little more, but it's still tricky. Anyway, yeah, so that was my round 1.
Okay.
Round 2, I played red, white, black control, and I beat it 2-1. In game 2, he had sideboarded into a total of 7 hand disruption effects, like 1-drop ones, so 3 Duress, 4 Thoughtseize, I assume was the split. And then probably Sin Collectors too. I think he must have played Sin Collector. I don't know why he wouldn't if you were playing Whip of Erebus. And he was, so I'm sure he had sideboarded into a couple of those as well. And he got me in game 2 because he just had every one of those cards. So I had no cards in my hand on turn like 4, and there was nothing more I could do really. So just sat there trying to top deck into something and didn't really work. But I got him in game 3 again, and the rest is history. What can I say? In round 3, I played Esper Control, and I beat that to...
Oh, we didn't record that.
I think it was 2-0.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly, but I know I beat him, and that's the important thing too.
So, what do you think of your mirror match, or what was different?
I'm playing 2 Notion Thief out of the sideboard, and I was really happy that I was, because it just made him play awkwardly, I guess. It forces the Sphinx's Revelation on their turn, you know, and that's fine. If you want to tap out or whatever on your turn and do that on your turn, and you're doing it for like 2, because you know that you can't stop my Notion Thief, and I get a free turn next turn to play a Planeswalker or have all my counterspell back up or do something else, that's fine. So yeah, I really liked Notion Thief. It was a lot of fun to play, and it ended the game all by itself pretty much. Just 3 damage constantly over the course of the game. Anyway, then I played Alex in top 4. We actually drew into top 8, but we played, and I guess I beat him. I must have been 2-1.
Yeah, so we drew in round 4, and we just played it for fun, and he beat me in game 3.
Mm-hmm.
So then top 8, you played a different Esper Control list?
And then top 8 I played a different one. The one that I was playing in round 3 was more close to like a mirror match. I think he was probably doing Blood Barons over Obsidat, and I don't even know if he was playing Elspeth actually. He had a little different build, but the one that I played in top 8 was closer to the one that I had been playing, so it was Aetherling and no real other creatures except for the Elspeth and Jace's. Those were like the kill conditions. Maybe Blood Barons out of the sideboard instead of main deck. And then, what was the other main thing that changed? Oh, I forget. But he's playing Syncopate. That's what it is.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah, why do you think you're not running Syncopate?
You know, I don't really know. I guess it just didn't hold up a lot of the time, and that's fine. I'm okay with.
You could probably do it over Render Silent, maybe.
Yeah, I could. I suppose I could. I really like a hard counter, though. I just wanted to counter something. And
maybe a 1 of Syncopate's a little weird. It's more of like a 2 of kind of counterspell.
It's something that you want to see early and then not see late. So it's a weird it's really weird counterspell.
And the Exile is not super important right now.
It's good against Blood Baron or Obsidat, really, is the really good one to hit with it, so that they can't
whip of Erebus. Yeah, it's true.
But
so in that case, yeah, Exile is important for a couple things. Against Whip of Erebus decks, yeah, it's relevant.
But that's about it.
I mean, it's even good on the Grey Merchant.
And then you might as well just do Rest in Peace out of your sideboard if you're worried about the Whip deck.
I'm so amazed that Grey Merchant deck made it.
You know, I'm surprised that nobody has decided to just say, you know what, I'm playing Rest in Peace in my sideboard as like a 2 of because I don't want to deal with the whip deck.
That's true. Do you get to draw a card when you play it too? Is that right?
Does it draw you? I thought
No,
it was
it
no,
just
it just exiles graveyards immediately and then nothing goes into the graveyard then.
Okay.
That's it. So
Yeah.
that's it comes into play trigger.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Ground Seal's the one that draws you a card.
Isn't there a black one? I guess there's Beck and Apparition.
But that's a targeted removal and it's just 1 mana.
It does work against the whip though, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, 1 time. You know, you kind of want to just never see a Grey Merchant in the graveyard. Is basically what it.
Yeah, I mean it's not that good. I'm just thinking of all the graveyard removal. I feel like there's even a hard black one where it draws you a card.
There's Crypt Excursion, which is actually the really brutal one, where you exile all creatures from target player's graveyard,
What
and
is
then
it?
you Crypt Excursion or Incursion. Yeah, maybe it is. Or maybe it is Excursion. No, it is Incursion.
Exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard and gain 3 life for each. Oh, that's kind of good. Yeah, that could work. For a controllee, maybe like a Grixis thing. Might want that since it's instant speed.
Just playing that against the whip deck, you know, it counters the life loss that they did to you possibly, and I don't know. I feel like it's good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Definitely. There's probably even more graveyard removal than that we can't think of. Oh, like I guess Dryad Militant only does it for instants and sorceries. What a weird card right now. I mean, the ability. Just
that one was only for flashback, pretty much. It was the answer to flashback, much like Ash, though. You know,
but it's funny. But it's funny when it rotated out. It'd be cool to see Dryad Militant have relevance again the next couple sets.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, they really would have to just make something that let you get a spell back from your graveyard again.
Yeah, I mean there are a couple cards in Standard that do that it turns off. I guess like Archaeomancer, or
Mindseeker, Jace's Mindseeker.
Jace's Mindseeker, that's a good one. Diluvian Primordial.
And what's the other one then? Mnemonic Wall or whatever. Yeah.
And even oh no, that one doesn't do it either. I'm thinking of the black Primordial that like doesn't it like gank it?
Yeah, no.
Gank a creature. Is that what it does?
Yeah, ganks creature.
From graveyard. That's a cool card.
Yeah, it is.
Too bad they're 7 mana. Well, do you play them a lot in EDH?
Yeah, they're pretty good EDH cards.
They have to be. They affect each opponent, right?
The red one is like the worst, but it's still okay if you could kill somebody that turn with it. It's, you know, haste, so.
Oh, yeah. I remember playing it in Limited every once in a while, too.
I mean,
6 power haste and steal is pretty huge.
Yeah. If it means getting rid of the one blocker they had.
It's a really good price, actually, for what you get. Especially in Limited. But we digress. You did top 4 split.
Yep.
Okay, so you ended up
and I
pretty much 4-0 in Swiss if we'd played it out, and then got to top 4. I'd say that's a really good sign for Esper Control. And not to mention you had 2 mirror matches. Do you think you'd make any changes? Maybe even you want to change your sideboard slightly, tweak it one more, a little bit, tweak one more closer to control maybe? Like maybe even another negate or something?
Yeah, I'm wondering what I would do. Maybe the 3rd negate is the best option because I played like only control pretty much in Alex, and Alex's deck is the deck that I guess I thought my deck was maybe designed to be decent against. It's not really, actually.
I think your deck's pretty good against it. The Detention Spheres, Azorius Charm, if you just look through all the removal, you have quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Supreme Verdict, obviously the most important one. You already have a lot of main deck removal. I think this list looks really good, well set up to defeat aggro, as well as 4 Jace Architect.
Your aggro deck is a little faster than what I can normally deal with, I think. If it was like the mid-range kind of aggro, where it's like white-green aggro, where they're just putting out fat guys one after the other, that I'm actually more prepared to deal with because
it's one at a time spot removal.
And those I want to hit with the spot removal too. Your 2/1s and your 2/2s, I'm like, ugh, I really want to wait.
When I play you, my best shot is riding 3 creatures and maybe a Mutavault versus your Supreme Verdict, and then maybe having a Boros Charm.
Yeah.
And like, that's about it. That's like my best way to defeat you, and you have to just like tactically use spot removal and be able to keep up a counterspell at the right time.
Yeah,
So
it's a tricky match actually to play against you, I think, because
either way,
yeah,
we both win on a good draw because if I get
the
like a
Yoke
couple,
Ducks is out of the board really helped me though
yeah,
too.
that's true. They definitely save some damage. I bank on if I get like a couple times yesterday, I got the double burning tree emissary into something like I
Hmm.
remember. Yeah, I remember exactly what they were. Two burning trees into Fire Fist Striker I got once, and then two burning trees into Gorehouse Chainwalker I got once. So
One of those you got against me, I
I think
thought.
it was the Gorehouse Chainwalker one. I mean, that is like
Yeah,
7
that was
damage.
pretty much game after
You
that.
add 7 damage in creature power to the board on turn 2.
Hmm.
It's ridiculous. That's like they don't even the Supreme Verdict doesn't even save them
Yeah, it
enough
doesn't even
there.
touch it.
They have to spot removal something and then Supreme Verdict. It's like their only way.
Hmm.
And then if you throw Mutavault into that mix, then sometimes it can be just too much and you can get burned out.
Definitely.
But let me move down to my list now. All right, so I'm playing Boros aggro technically, but it's more like mono red splashing white for Chain to the Rocks main deck and Boros Charms main deck.
Just
But
call it Boros deck wins.
it's not really Boros-y. I don't feel like it's a Boros deck though. 4 Rakdos Cackler, 4 Fire Drinker Satyr, 4 Burning Tree Emissary, 4 Fire Fist Striker, 4 Gorehouse Chainwalker, 4 Chandra's Phoenix. So 24 creatures, and then it's got. I forgot to do my land base, but let me do that real quick because
And
it's so simple.
I think you said Fire Fist Striker twice, but you meant Fire Drinker Satyr one of those times. And
Okay.
you wrote it down right. You just
Said it wrong? Okay. Fire Drinker Satyr and Fire Fist Striker. I'm running 4 Temple of Triumph. I'm running 4 Sacred Foundries, 4 Mutavaults, and then the rest 10 Mountains. So between the Mutavaults and the creatures, I have 28 creatures main deck, which I mean, obviously I'd like it to be 30, but I really like my instant and sorceries and right now for the deck. I really like what they do and how this deck functions. It's very good against. It makes them really keep. It makes the creature decks keep pace with creatures for sure because Fire Fist Strikers stop their blockers, so they really have to be like just straight racing me. And because I have the spot removal, a lot of times I can deal with it. I don't think I said my sideboard. My sideboard's another Boros Charm, 2 Wear and Tear, 3 Skullcrack, 2 Pacifism, 3 Electrickery, 2 Mizium Mortars, 1 Active Treason, and 1 Hammer of Perforos. So, I mean, it played really well on Friday. I'll go through my matches real quick. Round 1, I played against a blue-white heroic deck, and I beat it 2-1. And it was kind of a weird deck in terms of its mana curve and like what it was trying to do. It had like Phalanx Leader, the blue and white Ordeal enchantment spells. It had Fabled Hero.
I'm not opposed to the Ordeal enchantments with heroic, the way that they're using it. It was the Supreme Verdicts in this guy's deck.
It had Supreme Verdict, Elspeth, and Heliod, the god, in it, main deck, which was strange.
And you can almost not even use Heliod, or I mean Elspeth, her middle ability then, if you're playing heroic like the way that you want to.
I'm trying to think what else it had. It was a strange deck. The game he beat me, I just sort of drew too many lands in a row, and he just wrote out a Elspeth for like 3 or 4 turns, which is pretty much all it takes.
Right.
So yeah, but I still beat it. So that's not indicative of the meta out there. I was just way too fast for it. Even with the Supreme Verdicts, it didn't matter. I could get in enough damage where the time he plays Supreme Verdict, I can just burn him out. Round 2, I played against the Esper control list that you played in top 8, and I beat that 2-0. And it was a challenging match. I mean, he had some pretty powerful removal in there. I mean, you're talking about what we just looked at in your deck, but slight differences main deck were like main deck Ratchet Bombs, which is a pretty good idea against me since you only have to tweak it once and you hit a lot of things, or tweak it twice and you hit a lot of things. So
I really like that actually as a way to combat hyper aggro.
I bring in Wear and Tear against Esper Control because they're going to leave in their detention spheres, and being able to hit those detention spheres at instant speed can be just really huge. That can really just give you back, especially if they got big value on their detention sphere. Being able to get 2 creatures back at the end of their turn can be real devastating if they're not expecting it. So Wear and Tear is definitely good against Esper Control. It's good against decks. I'm trying to think of other enchantments that are being run. Might be Underworld Connections, I guess you could technically hit.
Yeah.
Which is a good one. And that's what the sort of Gray Merchant-y decks are doing, because they're gaining all the life, so the extra cards are huge.
Yeah.
The mono black pack rat
yeah.
thing.
Underworld Connections is really good.
Yeah, I bet that's good against you too. Do you have outs for that though,
well,
right?
Detention Sphere main deck will take it away, but
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
That's good.
But yeah, I can get them all in one fell swoop.
I really in the Esper. I remember actually the game that did it was, and it might have actually been 2-1. Now that I'm thinking, I just don't remember necessarily losing to it. But the game I definitely remember winning. He had a Jace, Architect of Thought. I had 2 creatures and 2 Mutavaults, and I just kept attacking him instead of Jace because I just was like so close to getting him in range. And I just didn't want to focus on Jace because I had him at like 10 or 11 life, and I could deal 4 to him. So I was like, I'd rather just deal him 4 right now, and maybe get to the chance to burn him out. So it did work out, and I was drawing fairly well. Like the Boros Charms turned into burn spells, which is awesome in that match, and why I'm probably gonna go up to 4. 2 more or another Boros Charm on the side.
It's so versatile against control decks. So and
stopping Supreme Verdict, and then burning them. It's just, I mean, it's still fine in creature matches. It's just not as good, and you don't want to see as many of them.
So it's good as a 2 of main, but like being able to put 2 more in out of the board against control would be really nice.
Yep, I think so, definitely. And my only white sources are Temple of Triumph and 4 Sacred Foundry, so I can't go like completely hog wild on white spells. But Chain to the Rocks is worthless against you anyway, so I always bring that out.
Right.
And I usually bring out Fire Fist Strikers too, because they're unnecessary. And then and against Esper Control, I'm bringing in like Hammer, I'm bringing in Skull Cracks, I'm bringing in Wear and Tear, I'm bringing in Boros Charm. So, yeah, so I'm bringing in quite a few cards.
Yeah.
So I'm taking out 8, and I probably bring in 2 Boros Charm when I put the other one in. Maybe I'm cutting a Skull Crack, so 2, 4, 6, 7 cards or something. Maybe I leave in 1 Fire Fist Striker then. But that's probably how I'd sideboard against you. Just getting the extra burn spells can be huge.
Yeah.
And actually,
the Skull Crack in particular.
Yeah, Skull Cracking on the what's
Sphinx's Rev.
Yeah, Sphinx's Rev, and in response to Obsidian.
Yeah.
When you against the other ones running Blood Baron, when they attack with Blood Baron, Skull Crack them.
Yeah.
A lot of good things you can do with it. So I like the burn spells that are in the format right now, despite it just being Shock and Lightning Strike. It's
and
not
actually,
even a good burn suit. It works.
Yeah, about Skullcrack again versus Blood Baron, being able to attack into them for lethal still, even though they can block
with Blood
one
Baron.
of your guys. You know?
Yeah, good point. That's huge. And turning off a whip turn.
Yeah.
Or in response to a Gray Merchant.
Right. There's a lot of good plays for Skullcrack in the meta that we have right now.
Yeah, totally.
Our meta is really big on black, actually. It's making me think that Doomblade is not good enough for my deck. We have a lot of decks that include black.
Maybe go up to another Hero's Downfall?
I really don't want to add more black
spells
to it.
What about a 4th Azorius Charm?
Yeah. I don't know what I would do. I like diversify. I like to see different things, you know, and get people to be like, oh, what does he have? How can he use that, you know? So, I don't know. I've played 4 Azorius Charm, and because there's so much control in our meta, it's not as good, you know. It's good against the white, black, red control, but it's not good against Esper control, and it wouldn't be good against the mill deck that I played.
It's probably a good meta call. We can figure another Devour Flesh maybe or something.
Devour Flesh would be okay, maybe.
as a 2 of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's plenty of decks doing that. Deals with a lot of things. And even early, it's good. Really, the only thing that fuels uh, the mono red or Boros aggro deck is Rakdos Cackler, Fire Drinker Satyr. So you have to really have that turn 1 drop. I don't always do it. My rule of thumb is typically I either have a 1 drop, and I'm gonna definitely value the hand a lot better. But if I have a Burning Tree Emissary, all it takes is 1. If I have 1 Burning Tree Emissary, I really feel like I can push through enough damage early to clean up later and win. Sometimes, like, I didn't even go through all my matches yet, but let me do that, and I'll get back to how the deck sort of functions. I guess I just wanted to say it hinges really on either a 1-drop play with, a 2-drop play typically, or another 1-drop. So a couple 1-drops. The 1-drop creature really is important, or Burning Tree Emissary on turn 2. So one of those components really is necessary. Round 3 I played against Mono Blue Devotion. Now typically this would be a really hard match, I think, for the red deck wins, especially main deck. But because I have the Chain of the Rocks, I can take out the Master of Waves, which is essential. Red deck wins by themselves still have access to Electrickery, which I have out on my sideboard. And, I mean, though it doesn't kill the Master of Waves, it does kill the Elementals. So, Chain of the Rocks is still better. I mean, obviously you want to get rid of their pro-red guy. And if they play another Master of Waves, then you're straight shit out of luck.
But Electrickery can also be used to take out the early Judge's Familiar and the other things that can, like,
definitely
keep pushing the Devotion for Thassa later.
I actually have the Electrickery for the mono white aggro deck, because they're running like Dryas Militant and Soldier of the Pantheon and Judge's Familiar. And Soldier of the Pantheon is actually really good against this deck because I'm running Cackler and Burning Tree, so they'll gain the life and be able to block it. So Electrickery is good in that match, but you're right, it is good against the mono blue too, because mono blue Devotion deck we were talking about is kind of a strange deck. It's almost like tempo. I guess Sean, who I played against round 3, I beat him 2-1, and he did have to mulligan at least 2 out of the 3 games. So I mean that deck is good, but it's almost like tempo aggro. It's weird because it plays like 1-drops like Cloudfin Raptor and Judge's Familiar, but then it also plays like Frostburn weird, and it plays Thassa, obviously. It plays Master of Waves, has Mutavault. I'm trying to think of more creatures that are... Oh, Tidebinder Mages, main deck, because you get the double devotion plus it like locks down certain key creatures. It's really interesting. And it functions well. I mean, it's got Thassa in it, too. It's kind of it's a weird card, or weird deck in the format, but it is very functional and good. And I still lost to a Master of Waves one game. I just didn't have the Chain of the Rocks, and I just straight lost to it. So, sideboarding into the 3 Electrickery with the 4 Chain of the Rocks, though, I think is enough, probably, to beat them. Because really, they hinge on getting the Frostburn Weird on turn 2, so they can block you. But having the Fire Fist Strikers, having the burn spells on top of, like if you attack with a 2-2, and they try and make their guy a 2-3, and then you lightning strike it, or something,
Yeah.
So you still have plays like that, and the Fire Fist Striker obviously to get by it. So they really have to tactically Tidebinder Mage or Fire Fist Striker, which he did, but you're running 4 Shock, 4 Lightning Strike, so and 4 Chain to the Rock, so you have 12 pieces of main deck removal for it. So you have a lot of options.
Yeah, I had forgotten how Tidebinder. I knew what Tidebinder Mage did, but I didn't realize. Think of it in terms of against a red deck wins deck. Yeah, that's really.
It definitely
pretty good.
At least it's like, okay, I'm gonna guaranteed get this guy to hit with a burn spell instead of me or a different creature. So in that respect, it's good, and it still does give him devotion for a turn maybe. With Thassa. I mean, Thassa is pretty awesome, but against me, her unblockable clause is a little less relevant because
you attack in them mostly.
How often do I block? It's when I'm blocking, I'm losing. I feel like. So I did beat that deck. I think it's still challenging, but I do think I have probably the best version of the deck to deal with Master of Waves. Round 4, I played Jake, and like I said, Drew played. He won. 2-1. I think, I don't know. I actually hope we kind of lived the dream playing in top 4 or in round 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
Basically,
We were both 3-0 going into that round.
That was a good sign. And I was playing the most aggressive of the aggressive, and you were playing a really damn control deck. So it's kind of cool. We played the best of both worlds and got there. And then in top 8, I played against black-white mid-range, and I lost 1-2. I had a couple bad mauls. I beat him game 1, and it was actually close. He had merciless evictioned away a Chain of the Rocks and gotten a Nightveil Spectre and a Desecration Demon back.
I think I remember that, watching that happen, rather.
And I had a Gorehouse Chainwalker, and I had a 2/2 creature. And in my hand, I had a Gorehouse Chainwalker and 2 shocks. So I played the Gorehouse Chainwalker, I sacrificed the one I had just played to tap down the Desecration Demon, and I attacked him. Now this was the choice that he was left to make, because it worked out. It had to work out this way for me to be able to beat him. So he had the Nightveil Spectre, which is a 2/3, and I was attacking him with a Gorehouse Chainwalker that was a 3/2 and a 2/2 creature. So if he had blocked the Gorehouse Chainwalker, he would have traded, and he would have only gotten hit for 2, and he would have gone to 5 life, because he was at 7. But since he took the 3 from the Gorehouse Chainwalker, I could double shock him and kill him.
Oh, sweet, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like I played on his
blocking to survive, like that, like
rather kill my creature and not lose his guy.
Well, and you have to think of it from his perspective. He's mono black mostly, so he probably is doing gray merchants in that deck too. So life gain is one of the key elements of his deck too, you know, in addition to that. So it's like, you have to think of it from his perspective. He could have been like, well, I'll just gain more life.
And 4 life is weird too, because it's like, well, if he has the lightning strike, he won't have me. You know what I mean? You just don't anticipate the double shock, because he's like, okay, he has 2 cards left in his hand. I guess I would be scared of Boros Charm. I would be scared of going.
Additionally, if it was,
I would have thought about that.
Yeah, but if it was lightning strike and shock, it would have been enough anyway.
True. He actually, I feel like it was just the more well, he didn't want to trade his Nightveil Spectre, is ultimately what it was. He wanted to just eat my guy and only take 3 and go to 4. But, yeah, so I got him that game. But I had to mulligan the next one, and then I got flooded. I saw, like, all my Chain to the Rocks, and then he just mercilessly evictioned him away again and got all his guys back, but I just didn't have enough gas. Too many land draws, not enough creatures. And game 3 I had to mull to 5, and he just, it was bad. He just Nightveil Spectre, got a couple of them out, and then started killing me with my own creatures, and I just wasn't drawing anything. So that sucked, but I do think most of the time I have a pretty good match against that. I can beat life gain, just because they really, especially if they don't have board sweepers, I can put out just an army really fast. So cards that are good against the deck obviously are like Golgari Charm, Electrickery, Shrivel would be. I'm surprised people haven't been bringing this in, honestly.
Is Shrivel in Standard still? I thought it was in 13.
Let's find out.
Well, Golgari Charm is around still.
Yeah, it's in 14. So you can do it. I don't know. Something to consider. I think it's good. Golgari Charm is certainly good. What else is good? Supreme Verdict. So board wipes are good.
Yeah, Shrivel takes out all the tokens though too.
And actually, and it also does not. It trumps Boros Charm. That's a big one. And it trumps Brave the Elements. So there's some things that Shrivel trumps in the right matches that you want it too. That -1/-1 is really important. So that might be something you want to consider.
Yeah, it's just that mono white actually pumps up past that point.
That's true, but you have Detention Spheres. You can tactically set that up.
Yeah, but at that point, like, the whole thing about Shrivel for me would be, I can just get rid of it, like, on turn 2. I can get rid of 3 things on turn 2.
Which is a blowout.
It would be a blowout.
It might be a good 2-of sideboard, maybe. If like on Friday, in fact, there weren't any of the mono white players. So we didn't even have to worry about that. Alright, so that was how our F&M went. I think we both did pretty well, considering we got 2 sides of the coin there. So that worked out pretty well. You did slightly better than I did, but We'll do reports next week. Now for my favorite section. Can't wait for this.
I'm excited.
Weird. Harvest. Best bumper ever.
Nervous.
Weird Harvest, everybody. Alright, so this is the section of the show where we do a card with a ridiculous name or a ridiculous piece of art, and we sort of dissect it and make fun of it. Because it's funny. They just really, sometimes they really screwed up. And then finally, like, card design is like the last thing that's taken into consideration. We'll discuss that a little bit too. But mostly it's just the name plus the picture. All right, in this case, Presence of the Master, which is a pretty actual, I mean, the name itself sounds
it's
pretty...
not bad.
Yeah, the name
and
itself,
actually, it's implicit of what they're going for with the card's effect. It is true.
Before I talk about the picture, let's just say what the spell is. So it's a 4-mana white enchantment from the Legends set originally. It looks like it was reprinted in Urza's Saga.
Yep.
While Presence of the Master is in play, any new enchantment casts are countered is the original text. Let's just read the new text, which is, whenever a player casts an enchantment spell, counter it.
This is so brutal.
So it's kind of a cool card.
Yeah, this is the most brutal hose to an enchantment. Like, this is your enchantment block hoser, you know?
Yeah, there's really no way to get around it.
Yeah,
too.
you have to destroy
it.
this first.
And the
it's
funny
like,
thing
bad.
is, Oblivion Ring and Detention Sphere, two very good answers for this card ordinarily.
Couldn't even take it out. And, yeah, it works against you. That's the whole thing about it. But, you know...
You can't cast another Presence of the Master.
You'll never have two out.
Okay, so good name, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good name. All right, so apparently the picture is it's very reminiscent of Mark Twain and Albert Einstein.
Take your pick. Whichever one you consider to be a master of magic.
I'm not exactly sure. So Jake and I were thinking it is possible that they were just thinking of like a sorcerer or something. It's the mustache though.
Yeah,
it
is
me.
the 1800s like Mark Twain mustache or the...
I believe this is Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Let's do a compare, because now I need to see what Mark Twain looks like, and then we'll do Albert Einstein. So we'll do the comparison. Let's see here.
Oh wow. Oh, this one.
It's looking pretty similar.
Yeah, that's almost.
Let's do
almost like uncanny.
Let's do an Albert Einstein though. I don't know. I think Jake's on the money with this one.
I think Einstein does win it.
Mark Twain is similar, but I have to say it is almost identical to Einstein. I mean, you've literally got like
the scraggly white hair and the mustache that covers the upper lip. You can't. It's a toothbrush mustache. What can we say? There's nothing you can do about it.
So apparently, Presence of the Master is, and they consider Albert Einstein the master. I guess they were right. You know, the coolest part about it is you see like, sort of like planets, and he was so good about, you know, wasn't he into stuff like that too, or not? I thought there was some.
I guess I don't know what.
He was discussing. He had some like crazy discussions on the solar system.
I guess the theory of relativity and like that whole thing is related to physics, and not only related to physics but quantum?
I feel like he had some say.
Just physics. I don't know.
I really want to say he had some say on black holes and stuff like that too.
He was the master of physics, Foch, and.
I mean, he did talk about the speed of light and like crazy stuff like that.
Yeah, okay, so he was the master of space. All right, we'll give you that.
Well, there's also the sun. The art. There's some weird stuff going on.
No, it's symbolism though. The sun is red mana, the moon is black mana, that goddess in the sea is blue, and the goddess with the vine hair is green.
Oh, that's a cool idea.
So yeah, it's like it's the master of all magic, basically, is what it, or like energy. I guess you can almost think of it as, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also like kind of a spoiler for our next week. This is why this looks so much like Albert Einstein, because I think we know what we're gonna do next week, anyway. And
no spoilers though.
Yeah, not a spoiler, but like it's a hint. And yeah, you'll see next week. But it's maybe a sub theme. that they were going for? Albert Einstein?
I would love to pick Richard Garfield's brain.
I don't think this was a Richard Garfield one, you know? And this is like strictly the artist that did this.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Phil Foglio. He's done
Yeah.
some other. Maybe let's look at a
He's
couple
done
others.
some goofy ones. No, we don't want to waste goofy,
Oh, you're right.
weird heroes
No,
ones on
that's a
this.
great call.
Because,
I already have a couple now that I'm thinking
yeah,
of that I
'cause
know are
he's
his
like,
art.
yeah,
Okay.
he's
All right.
got some terribly funky art out there.
All right. I think we're actually running out of Libsyn space for this month, so we're gonna end the podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And presents to the master.
Later.
Don't forget about Albert Einstein. All right.
Yes.
The master.
Albert Einstein.
Albert
We'll
Einstein.
recall it from our next week. When
Oh, we will definitely remember Albert Einstein.